With only hours to live, Aurora Monroe seeks the consultation of Doctor Voodoo. She is referred to the specialist in dark magic by Dr. Day. Now Storm will have to make a sacrifice if she wants to avoid impending doom. Dr. Voodoo gives it to Aurora straight. She's dying, and he can't stop it. He knows this because as a necromancer, he not only sees the dead, but death sprites. Creatures that can sense a life that is about to end. He's all too familiar with beings who can extend their lifespan. He personally made a deal with such a spirit to remove all radiation from her cells, as well as any other illnesses in her body. And she is currently the healthiest being in existence. And yet death sprites surround her, like ominous insects, hungry and ready to feast on a recently deceased corpse. In exchange for healing her of her immediate illness, Storm has been charged to not use her mutant abilities for 7 days. Storm sees this as an opportunity to brush up on her magic, hoping to eventually speak ancient tongues that were once only known to the witches and sorceresses of old, like those deep in her family line. But the good doctor isn't convinced that Storm will come into her own mystic-wise just yet. Even so, he thinks it was a worthy sacrifice. He's sure that she would rather part with her powers for 7 days instead of 7 organs, or her memory for 7 long months. This isn't her first time having to go without her powers, and she is more than well equipped to handle herself on her own. Before Storm can leave Dr. Voodoo's presence, the spirit of his own brother is taken aback by just how many death sprites surround Storm. Looks like Doc's the only one in his family with Kuth. But nevertheless, Storm is appreciative and can feel life returning to her. Even her hair is fuller than it's ever been. She is offered to stay at the Strange Academy, but Storm is not afraid. Not of death, and not of whatever awaits her in these next 7 days. And so, she goes where anyone else would go in times of extreme crisis. She goes to where she knows she'll be accepted, loved, and cherished. As the X-Men enjoy the outdoors chopping firewood, Wolverine smells a familiar smell. Nimrod. He pops his claws straight through his flesh. Gambit, Nightcrawler, and Rogue all prepare for what's coming in their own way. But nothing could prepare them for a tornado landing in their backyard. Storm emerges with a mile-wide smile, instantly embraced by Rogue. Turns out she actually called ahead, but Gambit said he wanted her arrival to be a surprise. Everyone is elated to see her, even Logan, who tries to creep away without showing some affection. Put a pin in that, it will be relevant later. Storm has lived different lives as different people, but one thing she'll always be is an X-Man. Even if she does not want to admit it to herself, in this era of her life, she would rather have the X-Men by her side than face the challenges ahead as a lone hero. But this isn't a rest and relaxation type of vacation. Storm is gonna get her workout in proper, and who better to help her with that than Logan. The two mix in playful banter among blows, and powerful blows they are. Muay Thai flying knees, devastating left hooks, suplexes, triangle chokeholds, and peekaboo punches.
My style is impetuous.
But as the days and the storms rage on, Wolverine tells Storm that she's had enough. This isn't training anymore, it's a beatdown. But Storm is not willing to stay down. She always gets back up, and as she summons all of the rejuvenated life that's coursing in her body, she tackles Wolverine to the ground. And then, there, in the rain and moonlight, the two catch each other's gaze, and the former teammates are overcome with passion, rekindling an old flame that hadn't been lit in years. The two embrace and take each other. Afterwards, they retreat to Wolverine's room for a much-needed and well-deserved good night's sleep, which is the perfect time for a giant razor bill to show up and wake Aurora up.
Bird.
The bird is here on behalf of God Emperor Doom, ruler of Latveria, sorcerer supreme, and soon to be conqueror of Earth. He wishes to parley with Storm on mutant matters. Doom wants to speak to Storm tonight, but she is only willing to go if the Razorbill would be so generous as to grant Storm a ride. Inside, Aurora is greeted by Rogue, who is delighted to hear that she knocked boots with Wolverine. That is a phrase I did not expect to read in this comic book. But Storm is not proud of what she did. It was a spur-of-the-moment thing, one that she doesn't want to announce to the whole mansion. She only came in to get some clothes from Rogue, as well as some concealable weapons. Rogue asks what's the deal with her and Logan, but Storm has set a path for herself, and now that she's announced it to the world, she has to see it through. And a diplomatic win is one they desperately need. Mutants in general, Ororo in particular. Ororo Monroe is everything you would expect from a storm god. Brave, rageful, fierce, unrelenting, powerful. She will fight till every bone in her body breaks. But when it comes to matters of the heart, she is like you and me, human. And with her departure from her friends and her old lover, though invisible to the uninitiated, her death sprites return, signaling dangerous events ahead. That wraps up the recap. Now for the review. I really wished we got more of Doctor Voodoo, but I'm sure this won't be his only appearance in the series. It was good to see him interact with dead spirits and other spiritual entities, especially those cute little death sprite butterflies. But I did note that he really doesn't have any faith in Storm developing her magical side. Now whether that means he's gonna have to teach her himself or if she's completely on her own is yet to be determined. The crux of this issue was obviously seeing Storm be embraced by her team, the X-Men, proving that she will always have a place in the X-Mansion. All the little moments with her and Rogue and their whole girl talk thing is always going to be good to see. I love any chance that these books take to show their human side, and it really don't get much more human than this issue. I really am curious why Murewa had her say knocking boots though. That is like a super old phrase that I haven't heard since I was in like high school. The sparring sessions between Logan and Aurora were on point. It's always good to see Storm showing off her martial arts skills. She and Wolvie have always had a good sparring rapport in that regard. Also, as someone who has his own comic book that's infused with martial arts, link in the description, wink wink, I think it's a sign of a really good artist when they draw form and technique when showing off hits. The hits all have a nice mixture of genuine form and exaggerated over-the-top cool factor, aka is good. And of course, there's the love scene. And seeing these two get together in this way has brought two constant warring sides in the fandom to the forefront. Those who ship Storm and Wolverine versus those who ship Storm and T'Challa. For some, it comes down to her chemistry with different characters. Personally, I see Wolverine as more that consistent friend / lover who's a source of comfort in hard times. Whereas T'Challa is more of that strong spark type of love that could either be life enriching or volatile, depending on the circumstances. Wolverine's like that really good friend that you had who you were friends with benefits with, then you dated for a little while, then you went back to being friends with benefits, then life spun you both into different directions and you crashed into each other years later just to see that the sparks are still there. They've had several steamy tussles both on and off the panels. My personal favorite of those? The time in Amazing X-Men when she told Wolverine not to skip the foreplay. And personally, I prefer them like that. I know some people, including some of you guys in the audience, would have much rather seen her get with one of the other X-Men, like Nightcrawler, who she's never officially been with, but definitely has chemistry with, a la Amazing X-Men. And other people would have expected her to go hit up her man Craig, who we saw her get with in the Krakoa era. And others still were hoping that this would be what reunites T'Challa and Aurora and gets them back together. I think I understand why Murewa chose Wolverine over all those choices to pit her with right now. Storm is in bad shape, and she needs comfort and security over everything else. She and Nightcrawler are good friends, and under better circumstances, they'd make a great couple in my opinion. But right now, Storm needs someone and something that is solid as a rock, something that she can rely on, tested by time. Same is true for Craig. Right now, Storm is in crisis mode, which makes the idea of her going to Black Panther right now make much less sense. I mean, when's the last time these two even spoke? No, seriously, when's the last time they spoke in the 616? Does anyone know? I know that she's currently in the Avengers comic books. Have they shared a scene together where they actually interact, or is he just standing off in the background still? So really, Wolverine was the only choice that made sense. Yes, it is messy. Woo chow. But that's X-Men. I am curious as to why she was ashamed though. Again, this is far from her first time hooking up with Wolverine, and I thought at this point everyone knew that they were on again, off again type of thing. Maybe the whole idea of her being Earth's protector and her linking up with Eternity and everything started to go to her head, and she felt like, oh no, it's beneath me to have a tryst with a friend and former lover. My sister in Christ, who you fooling? And of course I have to highlight the racial aspect of it, which honestly deserves its own video, but I will start to get into it here. The idea of pitting Storm and Black Panther together as a symbolic representation of strong black love is not so foreign of an idea to me that I can't see the appeal of it. But I don't think that alone is a good enough reason to just put Storm and Black Panther back together. The whole reason why they were finally married in the first place was for that reason. Only to have them broken up in the stupidest way possible and then constantly dangle the carrot in front of fans' faces of, will they get back together, will they not? I think if Marvel is gonna put them back together, they need to do the work, do the hard work of actually having them go through the process of reconciling any underlying drama that they may have from back in the day and really establish why, after all this time, these two are still the best choices for each other. And if they go on their own little arc and developed, and that's something that Murray was gonna do in the future, I welcome it. But I don't want things to happen that don't make sense just because I want to see those two together again. I'm not so much of a Storm and Black Panther fanatic that I'm willing to throw writing and good storytelling to the wind just to see them together. But let me know how you feel about the whole thing. Let me know how you feel about issue 3 in general. And when you are done, you already know. Click this video right here to get some more Weather Witch goddessness in your life. And until next time, you best keep simping.